Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So today's video is going to be just, I guess, variety hour. Just some tips and things that I've been kind of thinking of, and hopefully I can remember them all because I should have written them all down and I did not. So maybe they'll all come to me or I'll think of more as this video goes along, but I hope it'll be pretty interesting. Some ideas that we've picked up on with our experience of being a prepared homesteader. Before I get started, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and clicking that like and subscribe button down below. It helps increase our presence. YouTube doesn't like, you know, sharing and letting out the information from channels like this, but if you do that, it can kind of help overcome their algorithms. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and sure appreciate it. Today, part of the reason why I was thinking of this, I've been working on the garden, not planting necessarily. I mean, we've got some of the early stuff planted, but putting up an electric fence around the garden. Not for big animals, so it's nothing that would hold back cows or goats or anything. But mostly the chickens and the ducks, they tend to get in there, especially when things are young, just going, and they kind of tear it up. Once things are pretty mature, the garden is pretty mature, I don't worry about it too much. In fact, we usually encourage them to go in once things are starting to get mature, because they like to go in there and they eat bugs off the plants. So it's kind of a happy balance there. But we've put an electric fence up around part of the garden. I'm hoping this year I put some low runs on it that might help keep some of the rabbits out. It just makes it a little bit harder because I got to keep the grass trimmed low around there. If you're not familiar with electric fences, if the grass and the weeds start growing tall enough to start touching the lines, it can ground it out, and then it basically is useless. So we'll see this year if I've done a better job at keeping the rabbits out. Also been working on one of the greenhouses, about ready to finish and wrap that one up. And so I was thinking, because I had to make a run to the store this morning, the farm store, and I was actually thinking about this. So here's a tip. I'm not going to name any names of stores. Some of you may, well, I might name one, but I'm not going to put any businesses down. But as homesteading and small farming and hobby farming and backyard chickens and that sort of thing is becoming more and more popular, and it is. And I'll get into that popularity aspect here in just a little bit. But as they're becoming more popular, we're seeing more what I call big box farm stores. They're kind of like a Walmart or a Target, but for small farming. And of course, if you're a big farm, you can certainly go there to buy, but most of the big farms don't, because, well, their prices are too expensive, and they're more focused on small farms, and they're buying small amounts of food or things like that. And I want to caution going to those. I'm not saying don't, but I want to be caution you because a lot of people that have never grown up and lived in the farming lifestyle, they think that's about the only place you can go. And, they may have TV commercials, or they have big, bright, fancy, flashy stores, and they are cool. They got lots of stuff in them, but their prices are usually pretty high. In fact, one of those big national chain farm stores, I did some price comparison once, and just on the chicken feed that we purchase, and it's pretty much the exact same chicken feed. Who knows, it may even come out of the same plant. The price of their chicken feed is $2 more per bag than the bag of chicken feed that we get at our local feed supply store. And on top of the $2 a bag price difference, their bag is a 40-pound bag, and the bag that I buy is a 50-pound bag. So that's actually a pretty significant price difference, especially if you have a lot or you're wanting to kind of put back. We try to buy quite a bit ahead so that we have a little bit of a buffer there of animal feed. In fact, we put it in big 50-gallon drums, seal them up for long-term use. And so be cautious of that. You know, you go into these stores, and like I said, they're cool. I'll give them that. They're bright, they're clean, you know. It's like going into a Walmart, and they have all kinds of cool stuff, right? And their bags of feed have bright colors and pretty pictures and stuff on them, and a lot of the things are like that. And then you go into like the old-fashioned feed stores, and a lot of their feed bags have no pictures on them. You're lucky to even get something printed on it to let you know what it is. There's usually a tag on it. Feed stores, the old-fashioned feed stores, aren't bright and cheerful. They're not cool looking. They're kind of sometimes dingy and, you know, whatever. But look for those around in your area. There's a lot of towns, especially throughout the Midwest and the South, of just, you know, locally owned farm stores. And sometimes you have local farm co-ops that have stores. And I would look for those to try to find better deals because it's there. And going on along with the whole fad thing, or the popularity, I guess not fad, but prepping's the same way. And so I want to caution you on things that you're going to run across that are geared and focused and marketed to preppers. You know, I even heard the other day that I guess I've never in my life have I ever watched them, but I guess the Kardashians have paid to have a bunker built, and they're getting into prepping. They're prepping, and there's a lot of billionaires and movie stars and, you know, Hollywood type that prep. Maybe they don't prep like you and I, but they do put back, and they have bunkers. Of course, they have lots of money to do this, and so, you know, because of that, as word kind of gets out, and because of just the nature of the things going on in America, it's becoming more and more popular. It's becoming more and more normalized. Folks like myself, that's been considered a prepper for, you know, 20 plus years, back then everyone looked at you like you were crazy, you were just a lunatic, and it's still kind of that way, but it's becoming less and less. And the less it's crazy and the more normal it is, be cautious of just junk that gets produced and things that are being marketed to preppers, because we're going to see a lot of that. And so in the same way with homesteading, a lot of times you're better off going to the old-fashioned farm store that's not as pretty. You know, it's some old guy in bib overalls working there. He's way more knowledgeable than anyone at those, you know, big box farm stores. But you're also going to save, I'm sure, a lot of money. And sometimes you could even buy your animal feed in bulk. So moving on. In talking about stocking up, I wanted to, you know, another tip is to make sure along with your stocking up on stuff, you're stocking up on the right tools to do things. Things like the hardware that you might need to build something, particular tools that you may not have, but you know you're probably going to need. A tip there is I would try as best as you can to go ahead and start purchasing. Now, that's something that we have been doing over the last few weeks. We've been thinking ahead of the things that we want to get done over the next year, at least this year. And we're trying as much as we can within our budget to buy as much of that stuff now. And the reason is prices are going up, and most likely they're just going to continue going up. I don't know if all of you saw this, but inflation, and I'll get to the details of this, they announced that the inflation rate has gone up, and it's gone up significantly in just 30 days. Now, I will say that a lot of economists think that this official inflation rate is way lower than it's supposed to be, because if you look at individual things, the inflation rate on individual items, everything, nearly everything is substantially higher. You know, it's double digits, even triple digits percentages higher. And yet the inflation rate overall is still very small. But the inflation rate of February was 1.7%. The inflation rate in March is 2.6%. So that's like about a 50% increase in just a 30-day period. And you might say, well, it's just about 1 percentage point. I mean, it's still, we're still at only, we're under 3% inflation. Well, I'm sure that's probably not a correct number based on the things that I've read. But even if it is, a 50% inflation increase in just 30 days is significant. Now, if you look at the things that's going on, aside from the health crisis and the Great Reset, which everything, of course, is all connected, we know that, this potential looming wars with Russia, China, or Iran, and if we get involved in those or any one of those, because I believe of the magnitude that they could be, most people alive in the United States today were not around during the World War II. And so we don't remember. Yes, the Vietnam was a very large war, and so was Korean War. So I don't want to downplay either of those. But I'm talking a war on a level that it causes a great drain of resources because it's such a massively large war. Um, Wars with China, Russia, and Iran could easily do that. And so an already strained supply system would become under much greater strain if we were to go into some large-scale world war with any or all of these nations. So again, the possibility of even more price increases or availability problems of certain supplies could come into play. So what we've been doing is, like I said, we're trying to think. Today, when I went to the farm store to pick up some stuff that I needed, I was thinking about a few other projects. And so, this morning before I left, okay, these are some projects that I'm wanting to do probably over the next month or two. And I know I need this and this and this, so I'm just going to go ahead and get it now. And that's something that we've been doing along with our, normal stocking up on food and stuff like that. So I think that's a pretty good idea considering the nature of what's going on in the global affairs and stuff. Another thing that I would suggest doing, just because of what I just mentioned, because of everything is starting to look a little crazy right now, and I could be off. Maybe nothing happens. But I don't know if you saw the CNN, the Project Veritas thing, where the CNN director was saying that they were trying, they did everything they could to get Trump out of office, and then they talked about the whole health crisis thing, and they said now they're going to switch gears to the environment stuff, the climate change. And so that goes right along with the Great Reset. And so the reason why I'm saying that is that's also because a lot of this climate change stuff is to cut back on food, cut back on meat, cut back on certain industries that they deem harmful to the environment. And a lot of that is fuel related stuff. A lot of that is anything metal. Okay, well, we use metal all the time: screws, nuts, bolts, tools, parts, things like that. Lumber industry, it's already ridiculous, and the prices that are being paid for lumber. Trust me, I know. I just bought a truckload of lumber a few weeks back for several different projects that are going on around here over the next few weeks and months. But that's going to probably be affected by all the more environmental stuff. So the point is this is a big part of prepping and homestead prepping, is that we're not just getting ready for doomsday, which isn't really what we're doing anyways. We're looking ahead and saying, because it's almost like I don't want to call it gambling, but in a way it's kind of like a game. Okay, there's all these things happening right now. We already know that there's shortages, the economy's taking a hit, inflation is on the uptick, and then there's all these things that are very likely or definitely likely going to happen over the next 6, 12, 18 months. Now, how will that affect a lot of these goods? Possibly a lot. So if you're financially able, would it be a better interest for you to stock up on some of these things that that you'll need? And for an example, like I just said, I bought like a truckload of lumber, and it hurt bad for the price that I paid for it. And the whole time I was thinking, I even said it to my wife, I said, do you realize how much money we would have saved if we had bought this lumber last year? If last year I had thought ahead and say, you know what, honey, we really want to get this thing done. We want to build this. We want, what, you know, all this is happening. Let's go ahead and buy lumber. If I had done that last year, I would have saved quite a bit of money. I would have saved a few $100s of money. And so that's the only thing, the reason why I'm telling you. We already know what's happening. We've seen it over the past year. We've seen prices go up. Everything has gone up. I can't really think of anything right now that I'm aware of that the price is cheaper today than it was a year ago or 18 months ago. I can't think of anything. And so we know the prices have already gone up. There's a lot of stuff. Even though you can get stuff, you can't always get a lot of it, and it's not always available right when you need it. A lot of times, how many of you, you go to the store, especially a hardware store, and well, we're out of that, but it comes in on Tuesday, whereas just a few years ago, they would never be out of it. It was extremely rare for them to be out of it. So it's not like the products don't exist. It's just they've thinned out a lot. And so stocking up takes care of that. And if they're already thin, it's already showing a strain on the system. That's what that is. When you go to the store and you see that those shelves aren't quite stocked as well as they once were, and some of the products have run out and there may be a day or two delay before they come back in, whereas a year or 2 years ago there was no delay. They were stocked before they ran out. That is the strain being put on the system. And so if there's any more strain on the system, another wave, changes in more radical changes in the federal government, global wars, all kinds of these different things, more riots, that could put an even greater strain and could even break the system down. So probably the biggest tip that I want to tell you today is try to think of these things. If you're planning on doing automotive work, maybe you're planning, hey, I'm going to be changing probably the brakes on my car this summer, my truck, or doing spark plug change, here in a couple of months, stuff like that. Maybe if you're able to, go ahead and stock up on them now. Get the stuff bought now. Tools, animal stuff. I would strongly encourage you, if you have land and you're working towards animals, take things in stages. I always tell you people this on homesteading. Take things in stages. Don't jump in too deep too fast when it comes to homesteading. A lot of people do that. They get their first piece of land and they want to have all the animals all at once. Don't do that. But on the other hand, the world is changing. It's changing at a faster pace. And it's going to become harder and harder for meat. It's going to become more expensive. And so if you don't have a meat source on your property, but that's what your goal is to get to that point, I would probably do your best to speed that up. Don't move it too fast. If you've never had cows before and you don't have your pasture fenced in or anything like that, and you just go out and buy a cow, not a good idea. But definitely, make that a pretty good priority, because I have a feeling if everything that we're seeing in the news, that's going to be one of the things that's going to be, prices are going to be going up. They don't want us to eat meat, okay? They don't want you eating meat anymore. And, it's not that difficult to raise meat for your family on your farm. So that's another one. Anyways, I'm pretty sure I'm forgetting something. Remember I told you I should have written this stuff down, because I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days. These ideas popped up, so I'm sure I forgot something. Go ahead in the comments, because many of you probably saying, yeah, well, we could also do this. Or, oh, you should have mentioned this. Please mention it in the comments. The things I said are not absolute. You guys have great ideas also. All of you are at different stages in this journey. So please give your input in the comments below so everyone can benefit from your ideas. I think the greater point of this video is to start thinking ahead. This isn't doomsday. This isn't terrifying. This isn't something for us to just lose all hope on society. Things are bad enough that we could get to that point. But we are we're preparedness-minded people. We're homesteaders. We're survivors. We're fighters. And the reason why we do this is so that we can, have a greater increased chance of coming out, better or ahead of the things that we go through in life. And so that's why right now I think that some good advice probably would be to kind of stock up on some of these things, projects, different things that you probably are going to be doing over the next 6 to 12 months, because in 3 or 4 months, if you go to buy them, the price could be way more expensive than what you planned on it being. And it'll hurt your pocketbook or even make it to where you can't even do that project. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.